She's been silent.
Nadja?
Yeah. Shay, maybe she's not watching. Oh.
Jeeves. Okay.
Can you hear me and see me?
Yes.
Yes.
But you can be a bit more audible.
Do we all have a beer?
Oh, Martin. Wow, to me.
Where is that whole soiree of whiskey that you shared with me the other time? What happened now?
Oh, whiskeys are meant to be drunk, not
all of them.
I have a whiskey club, so I don't drink by myself. So we tackle
wow. Look at you.
Okay. All right. Hi everyone. I am terribly exhausted. Apologies. But I mean, people were trickling in here. I'm not sure what was going on. But anyway, it's probably a lazy Thursday. So we kick off today's session. Real men, what's it? Real men eat meat. That's the subject of today, and I'm quite humored by the title and the intro video. I'm still laughing today, by the way.
Oh, the intro video was everything. I loved it.
I'm so sorry for you guys that you had to see that.
Oh, we enjoyed it.
It was lovely. Anyway, hi, Flonia. Couldn't see you there for a moment. How are you? Great. Now, just to kick off in the normal tradition of Connect to the Future, Charlene, if you would like to get our energies going with some nice gratitude, we would appreciate that.
Nice gratitude, huh?
Yeah.
I'm getting a sense that people are a bit low, though. Look at Utoni. She's a bit like, oh, I'm so tired. Now when Jamganam, you are a bit fatigued.
Yeah.
You must give us some energy. You must give us the energy that you have, girl.
So I just got off my bicycle. I had a really nice ride. The wind was pumping one way, and you know, despite that, we still pushed really hard riding into the wind, and there was just such pleasure coming the other way, like with the wind at your back. And I think just in the spirit of being grateful and gratitude to that, like if we can just reflect on the things that we have in our life that feel like the wind at our back, you know, the things that make living easy, that make existing easy, the spaces like family, like friends, where we find comfort. I just want to draw gratitude from that. You know, sometimes it's easy for us to focus on the negatives and the things that are the wind in our face, where we always have to pump energy into and feel like we're never going to make it through, or we have to spend so much to get a little bit out. And we forget about the things that are the wind at our back. So if we can all just pause for 1 second, and we'll go around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 11 of us here, right? No. Just 1 second. Like, what is that thing for you that's the wind at your back? One thing, not a story. I think gratitude is 2 minutes, so you can't do too much. Dumi, you are the first one in my corner there. One thing. What's the wind at your back?
We'll go with it anti-clockwise. No, we're going to do it clockwise, not anti-clockwise.
It's not complicated. It's not difficult. Just one thing that's the wind at your back that makes your life easier, that pushes you and propels you forward. Go for it. I will start. Sometimes it's a cold beer. Like for me, it really is the ability to open up and have a cold beer. When everything frustrates me and the world is tough, you just want there.
Okay, I'll go next.
Go ahead.
For me, it will be unlimited access to the internet. The internet really makes or breaks my day. Yeah, after good connections. So yeah.
Martin, what's your privilege?
It's music, all kinds of music. Turns me left, right, and center. The emotions, it's still me having to get out of the room or anywhere else. It's lovely.
Lovely. Nadja?
Yeah. For me, it's I think a power nap in the afternoon.
Nice. Vince?
Yeah, I resonated fully with what you're saying, the wind on your back. I think the ability to go out and be one with nature is absolutely a privilege, and I look forward to doing that all the time.
Why isn't I going hiking? Why is it?
I am red on my face with, green with envy.
Red. Vincent, how many drinks did you have? Now you're red with envy.
I do not.
Why what's the wind at your back?
Okay, let's cut the battle between Vince and Dumi. So I spend most of my time on the road, you know, and I think it's the moments whereby I get to appreciate the privileges that I have, because I'm always on the road, and I see people from all backgrounds, mostly driving through the rurals, you know. You are privy to my Instagram, Charlene, so you'd see, I get excited when I see, you know, those ordinary people out there who one is actually more privileged to, you know, probably, what can I say, having broken out of the so-called poverty, and then you see that there's still people, you know, that live on a day-to-day basis with minimal advantages and so forth. So every time I reflect on those, and at times I can take photos, you know, just to every now and then remind oneself of how privileged we are to be in the urban, and there's people in the rural areas that can't get the taste of what we're enjoying here, the internet and all of those things.
Tony?
Yeah, for me, I've only realized that, and I think it's just what I talk about all the time. My children, they are the ones that push me, and I never realized that they have personalities, because when we're working hard for them, we come back home, we're tired, you just want homework done, good, sleep. But when I spend time with them, I get to understand their deeper side, their weaker side, and their strengths, different strengths. So yeah, I wake up every day wanting to know what they think for the day, and yeah. So for me lately, it's been my children.
Daniele?
Oh, hi guys. Sorry, Hello.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Oh, all right. So, for me, what really the wind behind me is that I work with kids, so giving them the knowledge of, you know, having to share us the day, each and you through me. So that really makes me feel so happy that I can actually teach someone something that they didn't know of.
Mbali?
Molly.
Oh, sorry. Hi, guys. I was talking on mute. I completely missed the intro, so someone needs to fill me up quickly. Sorry.
What's the thing that drives you forward? The one thing that you draw energy from, that keeps you going, makes your life easier?
Wow, health. I think we take it for granted. And I think now more than ever, I'm just so aware of it and try my level best to be as healthy as possible. So yeah.
Great. Thanks. Niswa?
Hi, everyone. For those that don't know me, I'm just going to say hello quickly with the video, and then I'm going to switch it off quickly because I don't like it. So for me right now, it's really being able to work from home and being able to facilitate homeschool for my kids. I think it's a privilege because in some areas, kids are not able to do their schoolwork. But I'm in an area where we are doing online school, and I'm really grateful for that. And being able to work from home and get my full salary during this difficult time, I'm really grateful for that. And I think that has made my life very easy during this time.
Great, thanks for sharing. Bali, last but certainly, sorry, Olile. Last but certainly not least, Bali moved.
Hi, am I starting? Yeah. Look, it's very difficult to top what everyone else has said because when number one started, and I thought, yeah, that's me. And then when the second person started, I was like, yeah, that's definitely correct. And so everything that has already been said is absolutely true for me as well. But except for the beer, I don't drink the beer, I drink wine. So I'm a wine person. But I can't stop anything that anyone is saying.
Great, thanks guys for sharing. But really, the punchline for today, acknowledging, the good that really exists in our life is the foundation of all the abundance that comes thereafter. So let's make sure we don't forget the small things, and let's acknowledge it, and let's be grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlene. Actually, that's the whole point why we start with gratitude, because really, if we don't get used to being grateful, we'll take a lot of things, for an advantage, and sooner or later we lose a sense of who we really are. So gratitude is very important, and it is the basis from which everything flourishes. So thank you for that, Charlene. That was awesome. Now, I'm going to do an intro. Nadja, you are fiddling, and I am nervous that you are not fucking ready, right? So it just worries me a bit.
That I'm not what?
Ready.
Ready for what?
For talking. Anyway, so I'm just going to do a quick intro of Nadja. Nadja and I met a couple years ago in the sugarcane fields in Shinovan. So the video that you saw of her
was actually in the sugarcane plantation.
Bullshit. You don't have any of that in Amsterdam. So we met in the sugarcane fields back in Shinovan in a very destitute and hopeless place. We shared lunch the one time sitting across each other, and it was absolutely awesome. And we connected the first time, and ever since we've been keeping in touch. She's such a delight. She's a hydrologist, aren't you? Yeah, that's what you do. You study the moisture on what's it? I don't know, on Earth cases. But she does a lot of work with food and all sorts of stuff. So that's hence the topic then. We can't wait to hear more. I hope you make us laugh as the intro video. No pressure. But without further ado, Nadja, please take us through.
Yeah, I will. And I did prepare actually.
Wow.
I even made a PowerPoint presentation.
Wow.
But the thing is, I have Linux. I only see your face now, so I cannot see the other faces. So this is really nice. And I need to share my screen. And if I do that, it says disabled share. Host disabled attendee screen sharing.
Okay, that will be right. Do you want to send it to me though, and then I'll just put it up for you? Okay, I'll just make you a host then. I don't know if it's going to work. Anyway, carry on, Nadja. Send me the stuff, I'll put it up.
Yeah, so I will send you. I'm not very good at multitasking like other women.
It's a myth, that, by the way. A myth.
Yeah. that was the reason why I said it. Wait.
Wow.
5 myths right here.
But shit, what is your email address? Then I can just
Where's
share it.
Emma?
Respond to the invite email.
Yeah, we're all Amber actually.
Who Emma?
It's
Why
too
didn't you
hot.
send me
It's
an
too hot
apology?
this side, guys. I'm telling you. That's what she's probably out somewhere tanning. It's really hot this side.
30 degrees.
Well done.
Hey, Vincent. What were you saying? Sorry, I didn't get that.
No, I was saying whilst not just fiddling, trying to just respond to the invite to the email.
Yeah, I'm not so fast. Wait, I just sent you an email.
Good.
Share with one person. Yeah. Pinsel.com.
And now? How about now? And now? And now?
Vince, please unmute your phone. Is she okay? And she doesn't look okay.
Yeah, I'm okay, guys. Sorry, I am here.
Oh, okay. Where are the headsets?
And the background and the whatnot.
No, sometimes you just have to change things. Huh?
And the energy.
Not today. It's been a long day. Oh.
Guys, Exara. Oh, gee. Let me keep quiet. I forgot this is.
Ooh, you know, that company is draining me, Vincent.
This thing is going to go on YouTube. Are you kidding?
No, I didn't mention the company name. I didn't mention the company name.
Yoga is draining you, and I told you that yoga is very hard.
Yeah, you know, Virgin Active. It's Virgin Active.
Oh, you received it.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah, I can only see 4 participants now, including myself.
All right, get started.
Yeah. So, my name is Nadja. And as Vincent told you, I'm a hydrologist, which basically means that I calculate water with satellites at the moment. And that's how I met Vincent, indeed, in the sugarcane plantation. But I'm basically a big nerd, and I do research. And now I researched what I eat, and I'm actually not a vegetarian. I don't know about you, but I'm really conscious about what I eat because I also sport or exercise a lot. So then it's important to know what you eat. But I try to eat less meat because of several reasons, and I want to share with you what I discovered in this journey because I think it will also be part of the future because what we eat impacts our surroundings, and it's an interesting topic. So I found out that that there are some interesting things happening in what we eat, how it is related also even to masculinity. And I want to ask, maybe you can just shout, who eats meat?
I eat meat.
Oh, can you see us?
Yes.
Wise, it's
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see the one speaking. That's the thing.
It may be a shorter list of who doesn't eat meat.
Yeah.
We eat meat too, hey?
But anyway, Vincent, maybe you can move to the next slide. Because the reason why I thought of this topic was because due to us being in lockdown, and I've noticed that the lockdown for you is actually a bit more harsh because I can buy beers, and I heard that the liquor shops in South Africa are shut down or closed down.
Yes. Yes, that's true.
What are you doing, Vincent?
I don't know, I'm just fiddling.
Yeah, but touch.
Go back, please. Yeah, so I've been watching these 2 documentaries on Netflix, The Game Changers and Cowspiracy. And they are talking about meat and the impact on our health and as well on the environment. And they're quite interesting. So the inspiration comes from this, but also from the work I do. But maybe you can go to the next slide, because when I was in South Africa, there was once a guy saying to me, "Kip is geen vlees, kip is sly," or something. So chicken is no meat, it is salad. And I was like, whoa, that is also another way to look at meat. So that's I know that you like your braais. It's actually something we do in the Netherlands as well. And yeah, that's interesting. Maybe you can go to the next one, Prince. I'm sorry that I also put in graphs on a Thursday afternoon, but it's interesting data, because this graph shows the meat consumption per person in the world, and it shows actually that it's increasing over time, as you can see. So you have like the time on the x-axis and the amount of kilogram on the y-axis. And actually there's also a relation between the economy, how it's growing, and the meat consumption. So what you see, if there are countries increasing in their GDP, it goes hand in hand with increasing meat eating. So that's already interesting that happens. But maybe you could go to the next slide. Yeah, what you can see here is that the meat production by region over time. So you can see that from the 60s onwards, Asia is like massively increasing in meat production, but that's due to population rise, but also due to the fact that the economy has been increasing in that part of the world, and you see a slight increase in other continents as well. Maybe you can go to the next one. Is that the next one?
Yes, that's like
Apparently. Well, anyway, I find this interesting because it doesn't only impact, so meat doesn't only impact the environment, but I will come to that, but also our health. So there's a lot of research in the last decades on the impact of meat eating on health, and especially red and processed meat is apparently related to cancer. So a lot of, like, for instance, in the 50s here in the Netherlands, people were eating meat only once a week, and now that's almost every day. And yeah, we see all kinds of health issues related to that. But on the other hand, people say you need it because there's protein in it, and that could be an argument. But you can also get your protein from other plant-based produces like broccoli, for instance. So it does impact your health if you eat it daily, and that's actually something that has been researched a lot, but still we do it. So why? That's interesting. So maybe you can move to the next one.
Still reading.
Sorry, were you reading?
Yeah. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. He can email me the slide at the end.
I will.
Okay.
But then there's also a huge impact of eating meat on our environment. We are now with how many people in the world?
7 billion.
What is the number? 7 billion, right? And I believe by 2030 it will be 9 billion. So that's a shitload of people. And if they all start to eat meat, we kind of have a problem. Because actually it has a big impact on our land use, obviously, because all these cows and whatever, they need to eat as well. And that's actually food that we cannot eat, or land that we cannot use to produce our own food. And if people are still hungry up until this day, and we have used all cultivated land already in the world, then yeah, I see that as an issue. But actually, one of the, I don't know if you know this, maybe you do, but people are talking about greenhouse gas emissions and carbon dioxide emissions and blah 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 blah. Flying is bad, and climate change is due to that. But actually, the biggest greenhouse gas that we emit as a human economy, so to say, is actually farts from cows. So that's the the biggest greenhouse
Called
gas.
methane, Nadja.
Oh yeah, sorry. Methane. I just call it farts. But anyway, so I when I found that out, I was like, what? Really? Farts are the biggest issue? And yeah, that was quite interesting to me. But another thing is that, of course, eating meat, and I don't want to sound like a sort of Jehovah's Witness for not eating meat, because I regularly eat meat myself. But oh, sorry, is there a Jehovah's Witness in the house? Oh fuck, no. I
Oh
love
yes, I'm
Jehovah's
here.
Witnesses.
I am
Yes,
here, please.
love you. Just what? Oh fuck. Yeah. No. Okay, I will continue. Forget about
Moving swiftly
No.
right along.
Yeah, I will explain later why I made that comment. Because in the Netherlands, they are probably very different than in your part of the world. I'm quite sure. Quite sure. But anyway, the the no, this is not cool. We have to have a discussion about this later. But anyway, Vincent, what are you doing to the presentation? Can you? Yeah, thank you. So what you see here is what I discovered, and what these documentaries also said, is that a lot of these meat products, they have sort of like this manly thing going on. So I don't know about you, Vincent, you're this sort of manly man, but so you would like to buy this book, right? If you see it, you think, ah, cooking is for women, but I would like to have a look at this cookbook so I can cook some meat. At least the marketing is really steering to masculinity features in selling meat, and I think that's interesting. Like, real men eat meat. Well, actually, Arnold Schwarzenegger apparently turned vegan a decade ago. I found that shocking information. But look at him. He's so tough. And maybe go to the next slide. Yeah, and then that's actually also described in these documentaries. The same kind of technique in marketing is used with smoking as well. So they make a sort of stereotype out of it, that it's so cool to smoke and it's sexy and tough. Eating meat is really cool, man. And actually, it's really bad for your health to do it in a large number of things. So I found that a very interesting thought. So I'm just very curious how our meat production will look like in the future, and what will we eat, and how will we substitute maybe our meat production, because there's simply not enough if you want to feed 9 billion people every day with meat. Maybe you can go to the next slide. So maybe there will be 3D printed meat, or insects, or I don't know, plant-based burgers that are really, yeah, getting a lot of ground in supermarkets as well. So that's actually what I wanted to discuss. And I'm very sorry for the Jehovah's Witness comment because that is not funny.
Carry on, Nadja.
And yeah, that was it actually. So let's discuss. What do you eat meat? What do you think about this? Maybe you think I don't care. I just want to eat meat.
I would like to say something.
Yeah.
Okay, so I definitely support what you are saying. Myself, I have completely reduced the amount of meat that I eat to 1 day per week. And I've definitely tried my best to do a plant-based diet. Not always successful, but I definitely try. I'm definitely aware of the effects that animal products have on people, and it's evident everywhere that you look. So I definitely support that.
Okay, thanks, Tova, for that supplementation. But just to hook back to Nadja's presentation, thank you so much for that very interesting, I'd say, zoom into the whole meat perception and all of that. So I guess what we are going to do then is that we're gonna just get in some questions. I don't see any questions from anyone at this moment. But what is interesting for me is, oh yeah, thanks. I saw that, Charlene, thank you. But what is interesting for me is that, number one, there are a couple of, well, Charlene is a vegetarian, yeah, just apart from her. And you, Nadja, sort of like a quasi-vegetarian of some sort.
Yeah, when I'm in the sugarcane plantation, I eat meat.
Yes, deep fried meat. And Tova, I know that you recently provided some content. So I mean, I would like to hear how do we make that perhaps mental shift from looking at meat as a staple to perhaps modifying our connections in our mind to perceive meats differently, so that we can engage seriously with the dangers that come with the consumption of meat as well. But before we get there, I'd just like to get Charlene in, and Charlene, yeah, if you may.
Before I start, have you seen how nice it is at Bali's house, guys? That glass just keeps coming. But it's
Charlene.
Hashtag just saying. Nadja, thank you so much. I think you really highlighted on some key things and a perspective that isn't really often shared. You know, often the vegan Jehovah's Witnesses tend to go for tend to preach the animal rights, rah, 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 shame, poor things, blah, blah, blah. Oh, Connie was Veza after that. And I think it's really important that, you know, when we talk about moving forward in the future and when we talk about people making decisions for themselves in the best interest of each other and as social citizens, we highlight those key things that you mentioned around we all need to eat. The same amount of land you feed X amount of cows could feed X amount of people. But also this is the consequence to the environment and the air that you breathe in terms of the farts and the methane gas and global warming. And it's all interconnected. And for me, it isn't just about eating meat or not, but choosing consciously to eat food in general. Because we can eat meat and we can eat meat in the right way. When we think, if you reflect, I don't know how many of you come from not so privileged backgrounds, but the reality is that if we reflect on 10 years back, not even 20 years back, 10 years back, in the households that I at least grew up in, meat wasn't bacon in the morning, polony in my lunch, and a roast chicken at dinner. You know, there is one meal that was possibly eaten, and in less privileged households, it was one meal with meat that was eaten a week. But that same chicken, compared to the chicken we eat today, has a thigh bone this long and meat that is tough and meat that is brown versus the chicken that we eat today, or you eat today from KFC or whichever, with the bone this small and the meat is soft. And there's something about, obviously, like you mentioned, with the growth of the economy and GDPs, we need to start producing that flesh. So animals don't grow naturally, and consequently you start to see the illnesses in beings, in ourselves, in the forms of cancers, etc., etc. So for me, it's really about consciously thinking about the amount of your consumption and where it comes from, and just being aware of that. Like, eat meat, by all means eat meat, but eat meat that comes from the local butcher who has cows growing out in the field that actually take 5 years to get to slaughter age. Don't eat meat every day so that you're forced to eat meat that grows in 3 months versus its normal cycle. And that's the difference, because the more money you spend on the type of meat you eat, the less money you have to spend on abundance of meat. So you eat less of it, and consequently kind of it all narrows out, or it all, if we all do our own bit, is what I'm trying to get at, then all these interlinkage issues settle down. Yeah.
Right, interesting perspective there, Charlene. Mbali, you were typing something. What is that? It's half a sentence.
No, it wasn't actually a question. It was just a comment that I never really used to be big on meat at all. Like, whether there was meat or there wasn't, it was not an issue for me. And then I turned 40, and all of a sudden I was into meat. And I just found that extremely strange.
Have you turned 40?
That all my life. Hey?
Have you turned 40, by the way?
I am 42, Vincent.
You look 20.
Stop digressing. No, but all I was just saying is that I found it extremely strange that I would be into something I was never into before. And I actually wondered what was the reason behind that. Maybe I need to do research.
Right. Interesting. And you know, one of the things which Nadja's presentation, you know, focused on is the way that meat is being marketed, right? Marketed, sorry. The way that meat is being marketed, that it is associated with masculinity, and hence there's like a natural draw towards it. I mean, does anyone in this group feel like, had it not been for those, say, adverts or subliminal messaging over a period of time, we would actually see meat differently than how we see meat today?
Yeah, most definitely. You know, growing up, if you go back to like the rural areas or whatever, and there's like a house slaughtered, you know, the men get cold on the side. Do you know what I mean? Like, even when the meat comes through, even if there's literally no pieces left for the meat, the last piece will be given the father, and everyone else can have the beans on the side. That's how we've been, I guess, the older generation has been brought up, and it's been kind of shared over and over to ourselves. But I'm in limbo because I actually do like meat, but I don't feel like I have a problem because I don't eat it every day. I don't go cuckoo gaga over it. But when it's there and there's the wine and everything just gels together, I'm just like, ooh, I gotta have that steak. I mean, we've got a Tesco's here. They even tried to do like a vegetarian steak where like the blood was beetroot. It's just like disgusting. I was like, no, stay away from that. I want actual meat. And maybe like one of the other things is all these ads or these marketing strategies, they go both ways. Even the people who are trying to persuade us to not eat meat, they're actually also using false pretense. Arnold Schwarzenegger, that picture, he was still eating meat at that point in time, 100%. He stopped after, and that picture was not when he had, like, it's easy. It's like people who go in and have a six pack and then go and sell, what's this tea called? Herbalife. It's like, you didn't lose because of Herbalife. You've lost it already. Now you're an ambassador. Basically, it's that same concept. There's people who are selling this thing of go away from meat. meat is a big industry within. There's a lot of I don't know. There's a lot of businesses that are going around that. So one, why is the government not doing anything if it's this bad? Because it's actually putting stress in their health departments and all that stuff. COVID was putting stress in their health department. They stopped everything, lockdown, right? For meat, why are they not stopping everything? Why are they? Because there's money involved, right? They probably got like stakes and stakes. Excuse the pun. They've got like a lot of interest into this, and I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't know. I feel like this industry is the meat industry. It's there. It's probably not going to go away. We probably, as we grow older, we will get out of it, of that constant need to eat the same thing. So I don't think we should be worried that much. And also, I mean, what are we trying to do when we keep saying this? There's too much cancer and all that stuff. I mean, we're gonna die sometime. I'm sorry, I'm a bit morbid, but at least I ate meat. At least I'll get to this side and say I tasted a pork steak. You know what I mean? Like I was sitting there with I'm sorry, I'm literally on the meat side. So I will eat veggies. Will definitely eat your veggie stuff, but I'll also go back to my meat.
Yeah.
I think, no, sorry, man. I think what Martin, what you forget is that when we talk about not eating meat, we're not saying stop eating meat completely. We're saying reduce the amount of meat that you're eating for the health benefits. At least from my side, it's strictly for health benefits. If not for you, then look at your family, look at your loved ones, look at the sicknesses that people are getting, and somehow you can tie that down. And it's not just the meat; it's actually just animal products in general. So you can include milk in there and dairy products. So if for you it doesn't work, then it's okay. But look at your family, look at your friends, and look at the sicknesses that they're developing, and ask yourself, where does it come from?
Yeah, but clearly what I'm saying is, I'm not saying I want to like completely stop meat or completely eat meat only. I'm saying in general, whether it's meat or anything in life, we should be doing everything in moderation, right? So if I'm doing everything in moderation, I shouldn't be in this position where now meat affects me because I've got a balance of my veggies, I've got a balance of my meat, right? Yeah. So it's just, I'm just against the notion that the meat section is very bad because it's not bad. Well, it doesn't taste bad. So
it tastes good. It's very good.
Yeah.
Oh, it's tasty.
Yeah.
Very
But
tasty.
that's not the problem.
So perhaps just another thing, just to take it now into the future with regards to how we see the future of food. I went to a race 2 years ago, and in this, those that do sports, the pre-race, when you collect your race numbers and all of that, you generally go through an exhibition of sorts, and there's various products, marketing stuff, because this meat thing is actually quite a thing in the sports, circle as well, to say stop meat, go vegan, blah, 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 plant-based, blah, and all of that stuff. So I went through a stall and I found a group of guys that were selling, I don't know what to call it now, but it was actually something, whatever the composition was, but it was made so that it can taste like meat when it's actually not meat. And they said that actually what we do enjoy out of meat is not the actual meat, but it's the texture and some chemical that comes from the meat. So if we can take that and replicate it in other forms of food, we can suddenly feel like, oh, perhaps I don't have to have a steak after all. I can probably have this leaf as long as it can taste like, if it can be made to taste like. I mean, is it an association of meat in the sense of taste and texture, or is it just the sight of it? I mean, how do we transcend from the current perception of what meat is to what we should actually be looking at, considering the fact that there's all of these negative, spin-offs that come with heavy consumption of meat.
Yeah, and the question is, why do you eat meat? Why is it? Yeah, but seriously, why is it necessary to eat meat? Is that because you think it's good for you? Is it because you think you need it? While in fact, it's not.
I can.
And if you look at, like, I'm questioning also this to myself, because I love meat. I like the texture, but why am I eating meat?
Right.
If I know it has all these negative consequences, I'm still doing it. Like,
Yeah.
this is a question, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, I would have been surprised because we had a lot of braais. So if you said you hated meat, I would have been surprised, Nadja. But having said that, I don't know if anyone wants to take up Nadja's question on why do we eat meat. But I just want to spend a minute on this and say, it's not a choice, right? That I choose to eat meat. I think it's something that you're brought up with. In a household, you get fed as a young man or as a young girl. You get acquainted to a form of a diet. You know, you grow up, you see other things.
Social constructions. Meat is a social.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Exactly.
So then, until such time that you stop and make a conscious decision of saying, I would like to take something about my diet, it never is anything wrong. It's just you eating what you've been eating anyway in different, variations. But certainly it is not a why do I eat meat as if at some point I had to stop and decide. It's really just a continuation of a natural course of how you've been socialized growing up. And now suddenly you're an adult and you think, oh, okay, maybe I can now have a ribeye instead of having a bloody brisket, and I can have a bloody wagyu instead of a bloody, sirloin, whatever the case is. So what I'm saying is it's a natural progression. It's not a stop and think. And perhaps, coming out of this, there'll be questions in one's mind to say, can I then evolve into a point where I can ask myself the question of saying, can I continue eating meat? And truly, if we can get there by the end of the session, we would have achieved the discussion concerning the future of meat. Yeah. Yes, Charlene?
So Vince, I think it goes back to our roles as human beings on this earth. And for me, really, I don't separate the meat as something that's out of being a conscious citizen. I think it's important for us to reflect and to continuously reflect on our impact on society. And if that's in the form of what you consume or how you behave, there's a whole spectrum of all these things. And how do you then, once you are given a little bit of information, choose to ignore that because it wasn't enough for you, right? And what is your role? Like throughout these weeks, we've had little snippets that are not enough to convince, but are enough for you to actively engage and to go, if you're interested, to take the initiative and go read more about it or find up and make a decision for yourself. But yet as individuals, we often feel like someone needs to sell it to me, someone needs to convince me, and the active citizenry is then outsourced to someone else to do on my behalf. The remedial work is how I refer to it. And the meat thing, like, meat is nice. Like, don't get me wrong, I didn't stop meat because I thought it tasted ugly. I still acknowledge that when I walk into the Woolies and I pass the hot food section, that chicken smells good. It's not that it's disgusting for me in any way, but I actively choose not to contribute to global warming, to animal cruelty, and all the other things that comes with. And for me, it was a clean cut. I was like, okay, maybe let me start with pork. And then I thought, okay, I will still eat seafood and I will continue eating fish. But then I was like, but why? Like, what makes the fish less worthy? And that goes back to the question I tried to write, is that what makes a donkey and a horse not meat, but a chicken and a cow meat? And it speaks to what you're saying around constructs and social constructs, because in Asia, fucking any animal is food. But here we're frowning on people for eating cow, shark soup, etc., or various things. And we need to ask ourselves as individuals those questions as to what is my influence in the world? What do I leave behind, and how am I an active citizen? How do I take the information that's been given to me in whatever form and actively go and engage with it? But that's not what I wanted to say. I was just attacking you for no reason. There was something else I wanted to say that's completely just slipped my mind now.
Oh, and when it comes back, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah.
I like the passion though. The passion is good.
You know, Charlene. I agree with what you're saying. My thinking is, before we even get to what you are suggesting, I think we need to have this discussion a lot more, because nobody's having this discussion. Nobody's talking about this. Nobody's aware of this. And I think once people become more aware and it becomes a norm, this discussion becomes a norm, then you begin to ask yourself these questions. But right now, I'm saying this, and I know if people who are watching this are not aware, they'll think to themselves that who is this person? What are they talking about? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does it make sense what I'm saying?
No, 100%, Toba. I mean, the whole thing is to socialize the discussion, and it starts in small circles like this amongst friends, and then sooner or later we can precipitate it to various other groupings and create meaningful discussions around it. But anyway, Charlene, you remembered what? Sorry, Nadja, you said you remembered what you wanted to ask.
Yeah, it was around parenting. Vince, you made a comment around we get raised eating meat and things are the norm. I wanted again to throw it back to the parents in this space, and you know, how do you raise your kids? Often you make decisions for them until they are old enough to decide that maybe they don't want to be Jehovah's Witnesses, they want to be Jews. Maybe they don't want to be meat eaters, they want to be vegans. But where does the agency start? And is your role as a parent to put the food on the plate or to explain what the food on the plate is? Just in terms of what society is feeding them, but also as a nurturer to a young being.
Sure.
So I'll jump in quickly. My son is 3 years old. He hates meat, and till this day, I think the only thing he eats is fish fingers. That's meat. Otherwise, everything else, like if it's like a piece of meat, or even if it's like mincemeat, he'll pick the mincemeat out of the curry and say, "Daddy, I don't want this," and I don't stop him from that. And maybe this is because he's got parents are vegetarian. So I want him to be able to go there and be comfortable, also come here and be comfortable. Funny story is their kid loves meat. So when he comes to visit my house, he has chicken wings. When my son goes there, he has veggie stuff. But at this point in time, they're 3 years old. What do they know? As long as they're fed and they're growing very nice and healthy, I give him multivitamins and make sure that he's got all the nutrients that he needs. And that's it. Because he probably doesn't even get it. Like, I'm force feeding something that has been force fed to me. So I would rather not. Lucky enough. So I think as a parent, my style of parenting is I'll let him be until I'll give him as much room to grow with that little guiding hand is all I'm going to be. That little guiding hand to just make sure that are you fed? Are you good enough? Can you have sustain the energy and go play with other kids? This is what you need for that. Boom. I've provided that. Anything over and above that, you go out and play. And so just
interesting. Sonny, Nadja, this is very interesting. A political party that is campaigning along the lines of meat. What's that?
Yeah, well, it sounds a bit weird, but it's called the Party for the Animals. And it's a really bad name if you want people to vote for you. But anyway, they
do you then become labeled a party animal?
Yeah. That's a good one.
It is a good one.
Yes, I'm a party animal. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, this is actually a party that's really trying to how do you say that? Put this topic on the agenda, the political agenda in the Netherlands, and it's new. So this discussion is also quite, yeah, I would say recent. But what I wanted to say is actually the whole COVID situation that we're in now actually also aroused from our relationship um, with the environment, because the reason why there is a COVID breakout at this very moment is apparently because of a virus that was induced in Wuhan in China, right? And there a lot of animals are stuck in one place, and people are trying out different kinds of meat. So in this case, it was a bat, like, yeah, that's what you call it, right? A bat, this weird kind of creature.
Yeah.
That was eaten at this very market, and that actually sort of induced this whole COVID crisis. So also this whole fucking sorry for my words, this whole pandemic is also arising from this very weird relationship with our surrounding, and I wanted to notion that.
Yeah, interesting. All right. So perhaps a final round of comments. I know now there's a discussion brewing about the economics of individuals in the country, and perhaps it's a very local subject. This whole notion of vegetables being more expensive than meat and all of that, and I appreciate it, but it depends where you buy. You know, some of us don't even know how much food costs, but it's fine. So the point Mali's trying to make here is that perhaps the cop out on having to really interrogate the issue of meat is that even if I were to stop meat, I cannot afford my vegetables. You want to shed a light on that, Bali?
Sorry. Yeah, so I mean, I think most of us can relate where vegetables generally in Black families are eaten on a Sunday, hence 7 colors. But on a day-to-day, I don't know why, but vegetables are seen as a luxury. So, you know, and it's purely because people think that vegetables are expensive. I don't know why. And I mean, I've done the exercise. No, you just because now you've moved to the burbs doesn't mean that, you know, vegetable changes and all of that stuff. But if you really take the time to, like, that's my brother, he's being a
Your brother's got a topic next week. Anyone who waves while somebody's talking comes and presents. You must tell him.
I told you this nicely.
Very gift.
Wow. This household is lit.
So I was saying that generally,
I see a party animal.
Generally, the notion is that vegetables are expensive, but in essence or in truth, meat is more expensive than vegetables.
Yes.
So I don't know. Somehow we need to change the narrative, and the ladies on the streets need to peel the vegetables for Tumi.
Maybe Bali, maybe the vegetables are expensive in time because we create cream spinach, butternut squash. That's what we know about veggies. We don't know all the recipes that are there about veggies. I mean, when was the last time you had a chickpea curry from home? Do you know what I mean? That's a veggie, right? No one does a chickpea curry. Whereas in meat, you just buy it from the shop and you chop in the pot and it's gone. In terms of time, it hasn't cost you that much. It costs you more on the veggie side of things. You have to think of how you, like, I guess it's just a way of thinking.
Yeah, I'd like to agree. I'd like to agree with Martin and Bali. Actually, vegetables is cheaper than meat, in my view. Oxtail is very expensive. I love oxtail. I love lamb shank, very expensive. You cannot compare that to a vegetable. Cabbage is like 15 rands, and you eat it for 5 days.
Oh, what do you buy it? No way, it's 18 rand plus.
Food lovers, yes, even 18 rands is still cheap. You buy it Woolies at Food Lovers at Pick and Pay, it's around 15, or you can go up to 20 if you want. And your baby mirrors, you pay the same, around 20 rands. And then go and buy an oxtail, 110 something rand. No, guys, no, I don't agree with that.
No, guys, I beg to differ.
But then is then meat a status? Is it then saying that you can afford? I'm at that point where I can eat meat every day because I got the money. Do you know what I mean? Does it then become a thing that we use as, look at me, I'm a meat eater, I've got this?
Guys, I'm open for ideas. I don't know what to eat without meat. Maybe you can give me ideas. I'd like to cut down on meat, but I eat meat almost every day because I don't know what to eat without meat. Please,
I can give you some recipes.
Guys, when we're talking about
please do.
When we're talking veggies, we're also talking about beans, right?
Yeah, I think.
How much is a kg of beans?
Guys.
And how much time do you need to cook your beans when you're preparing bean curry? And that is a hell lot of electricity. And I think we need to move with time. Let's not think about veggies the same way we grew up seeing veggies, because when we grew up, your chicken curry would have potatoes and that would be it. But now when we're talking about veggies, some of us have veggies as our staple. Instead of your rice or instead of your starch, I'll have my veggies and I'll have my piece of fish. So that is why I'm saying that veggies are expensive, because I'm trying to avoid having starch. So I'll carry a portion of my veggies and a portion of whatever I'm going to have with my veggies to work for lunch. So that is a hell lot of money, especially since now we work. We all have to wake up and go to work. Okay, let's forget about the lockdown for a bit. And you don't have time to, like, do you know how much time it takes to peel a butternut? So when the shops are creating convenience for us, I mean, I'm gonna go for convenience. I like to buy my veggies peeled and chopped. For cabbage, I buy the chopped one as well. It makes my life easier, but it costs me more.
Right.
So beans, I love beans, but it's expensive.
Right. No, but we're going over our time, and the discussion will go on and on. These things don't end, so it's prudent then to perhaps try and bring it to some form of a close. But I think guys, please, by all means.
Yeah, sorry I missed the bulk of the presentation by Nadja, and I'm not sure if she's addressed this. If she has, I'm quite happy to forgo the point. So when I saw the advert of the talk or the discussion today, I was interested to hear what her views are on the over commercialization of fruits and vegetables. I mean, while we talk about the ethics of biodiversity and eating vegetables as a means of saving the planet and so forth, I also think that it's important for us to talk about the ethics of the over commercialization of. I think it's important for us to also address the ethics of over commercialization of basic foods, and so I mean in recent times, especially within the fitness industry, you would have seen the sale and over advertisement of foods like quinoa, kale as superfoods. They've been marketed as superfoods, and the price of those items and food items has significantly shot up. Yeah, blueberries, dates. So when they were sold as healthy and superfoods, yeah, the prices of those foods shot up. And I saw someone commenting about red beans as well being expensive, and that's precisely because they've been marketed as these these superfoods that are be all and all, antioxidants and whatsoever. And I think it's unethical. So how does that work? Right. So what happens is that you've got kale. Someone plants kale. Someone markets kale and sells it off as a superfood, not as cheap as it should be in Bali, and markets it as like a food to heal so many diseases and deal with so many ailments. Green tea as well. That's what happened to it as well. But I mean, we know that it takes a pittance to produce it. And then it is sold with, at exorbitant prices. So that for me is unethical. As a result, you know, while we talk about how unethical it is to eat meat and how irresponsible it is to the planet, but it is also, I think, quite unethical to then, you know, raise the price of basic foods, such as foods that should be cheaper than what they're being sold for. And I don't know if you have a view on that, that the ethics go both ways. I don't know if,
You're
yeah.
asking me?
I don't know if you addressed that question in your discussion earlier.
No, there was a talk about the perception that is created around meat, hence the overconsumption and it being linked to masculinity and all sorts of stuff. And I guess what you are bringing on the table is the over commercialization of veggies to only drive a particular pattern of consumption as well. So we did cover that as well. But I mean, I don't know if Nadja, you wanna make a mention about something like that.
Well, the only thing is, like, I'm not an expert, but I see 9 billion people in the future on our planet. We only have one planet. There's not enough space for the amount of people eating meat all day, but there is enough space to eat veggies and fruits all day. So maybe we should just make a shift. That's my not my opinion, but that's just if you look at the facts.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess we've come to the end of our session today. If it's not, I'm ending it. If you want to continue chatting, by all means do that, you know, amongst each other, and certainly on YouTube. I mean, nobody ever does, but I'm just going to say it anyway. But thanks Nadja for bringing the topic to the fore. Certainly, I mean, we've all appreciate the fact that we are at different levels in this food appreciation thing, and we've taken different journeys. But certainly coming out of this discussion today, I think, number one, I am personally encouraged to really interrogate and challenge myself around the idea of meat, and I hope the rest of everyone will do that as we take interest into what is going to happen with our lives and the lives of kids going into the future. Thank you very much, ladies and gents. Have a great evening, and we meet again next week, Thursday.
Yeah, and thank you for this conversation, and that you actually showed up after this awful video. I'm really impressed. Yeah.
Bye, Nadja.